exports of these islands. We'll compare the food security and the food import bill of Dominica versus that of the other OECD states. We will certainly point out the differences in their CBI program and their different investments of CBI revenues in the growth pillars of their economies, like agriculture, like tourism, like manufacturing, agro-industries, knowledge industries, etc., instead of just in construction. We will look at the impact of the CBI program in these 5 states with CBI programs. For example, St. Vincent's investments in hotels, in agriculture, in medical marijuana, etc., versus Dominica mainly in construction. We will also look at the use of CBI proceeds in support of social services, education, healthcare, culture, public utilities, energy, environmental issues, garbage collection, roads and bridges, recreation, housing, etc. And as we know, we've been hearing recently, Dominica's Prime Minister wants to have a regional government, but given Dominica's experiences in the past years, is this in Dominica's best interest? Will Dominicans benefit from such a move? Will Dominica become the dumping ground for OECS leaders? Do these leaders treat Dominica as a brother or as a bastard relative? Will they treat Dominica as an equal part or partner? Does our government have any authority at all to surrender Dominica's sovereignty to a regional body? So we will, among other things, we will examine the U.S. and EU concerns over the CBI program. I mean, people purchasing passports that are not in their real name. CBI citizens not required to visit Dominica, not even to take the oath of allegiance to Dominica. And as a consequence, the U.S. and the EU are threatening visa restrictions on select Caribbean and Latin American countries. So if time permits, we will also look at the role of diaspora remittances in supporting the quality of life of Dominicans and that of the other OECD states at home. And we'll look at the innovations taking place in each of these states. So a lot of the questions are, have Dominicans learned from seeing the progress of sister islands? Are any of these lessons being applied to today's current economic and political processes? How do we apply these lessons learned from comparison in development strategies of making a determination as to where we go from here? If time permits, we look at the challenge of escalating external and internal debt, impact of the Ukraine-Russia war and the Israel-Iran war on the other OECD states compared to Dominica. And then thinking ahead, of course, to 2030 or to Dominica's 50th anniversary of independence, what should be the economic priority in the face of threats of natural disasters like hurricanes or volcanic eruptions? So all of this will be happening tomorrow night on the Global View on Q 8 p.m.
Mr. G, you sure you have enough time? You sure you're going to have enough time for all of that? That's a heavy agenda there.
We will see, as I said, it's time for it. We may have to do a continuation the following Tuesday, but certainly we think these are some subjects that need to be aired.
Yeah. All right. Well, we wish you well. We look forward to the event tomorrow night from 8 o'clock right here on the big station.
True. Very true.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, take care, Lennox. Good afternoon to all your listeners.
Mr. G, the host of the Global View on Q, which is happening tomorrow night, Tuesday. That will be the 24th of June, 2025. The hour in the evening time is 8 o'clock. That's your date, 8 tomorrow, Tuesday, for the Global View on Q with Mr. Sheridan Gregoire, the CEO of Q95. We call him Mr. G. All right, Dominica, good afternoon to you again. Welcome. We trust that all is well. And we will be with you until the 3 o'clock hour. There is much that we have to do. And I have a little special something for you this afternoon. We're going to go back in time a bit. In this season, budget and budget debates and all of that, I wonder if you remember what it was like when we were talking about budgets back in those days, and how much has changed for us since then. Are we still talking about some of the same issues? How much have we moved forward? So we're going to go back, not 5 years, not 10 years. We're not going to go back 15 years either. We're not going to go back 20 or 25 or even 30. We're going to go back 35 years ago. 35 years ago, to a conversation I had with a certain member of parliament at the time about the budget of 1990, 35 years ago, and you will make up your mind as to whether a lot has changed from what we were struggling with back then to what we are grappling with today in terms of the well-being and progress of the economy of Dominica. All right, so that conversation from 1990 with parliamentarian at the time will be one of the features of this afternoon's engagement on Talk on the Block. The Prime Minister of Dominica hosted a press conference this morning. It went for over an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere around there. It was, I think, the Prime Minister intended to reassure the people of Dominica on a number of developments of more recent times that they may have been concerned about. And so he spoke about the state of things with the OECS coming out of that conversation in St. Vincent last week at the OECS Assembly, and what should happen going forward with the relationship with CARICOM and all of that, and political union and so on. Prime Minister also spoke about the collapse of the roof at the grammar school in construction, and the fact that an investigation has been commissioned. And he also spoke about this matter of the pending threat for Dominicans entering the United States, so traveling to the United States, arising out of the fact that we are now on a list of 36 countries that could face that U.S. travel ban if certain things do not happen. The Prime Minister said, though, there is no cause for any alarm on behalf of by the people of Dominica. The government has this. The government is working its diplomatic channels with the United States and being kept updated on what's going on. There's no official word yet from the government of the United States regarding this matter, or if there's anything that the government requires to do to be done. One of the disclosures made by the Prime Minister in the context of that conversation was that the U.S. seems to have a concern about people getting citizenship of Dominica, purchasing citizenship of Dominica, and then changing their names. What he said was that there's going to be legislation, I think, I hope I heard it right, legislation that will prohibit that, or make it unlawful, or prohibit the changing of your name once you get a passport or you purchase citizenship of Dominica. And he said, well, that particular action should deal with the concern that the U.S. has in that regard, because it has been going on for some time. There's something I've heard about, this changing of name by process called deed poll in the court. So you get your passport and you're able to have a new name, put a new name on there in the process. All right, but just to say, the matter of the possible, the threatened travel ban on the citizens from Dominica and those from 35 other countries, 4 others in the OECS, all operate as a citizenship by investment programs. That matter came up sometime recently. But after that, the United States bombed nuclear sites in Iran. That's a more recent development. And there's all sorts of talk making the rounds now about retaliation by the Iranians and Americans being, targets wherever they are for retaliatory actions and so. And it may well be that this situation now, as it stands right now, could mean that Americans now start traveling less, feeling that they will be safer in their own country as opposed to being on holiday in some country that the U.S. has on a list of countries to be banned. And so, with Americans probably staying home more and traveling less, you might see a downturn in the arrivals from that important source market for Caribbean tourist destinations in the not so distant future. That probably it's something that will start happening already. That travel to these islands, Dominica included, is down. It's an interesting time for that to be happening because remember, tomorrow the government goes to Parliament to get authorization for a guarantee so that Discover Dominica could fulfill its obligations under the air services agreement with United Airlines, which is seeking to add another flight, a second flight to its Dominica schedule. It flies weekly on Saturdays. It is seeking to add a Wednesday flight to that once the arrangements can be finalized. 125, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Linton.
How are you
Sorry
doing?
about the feedback. Not too bad. Mr. Linton, there's a loophole that I've been pointing out time and time again. And Mr. Skerritt never addresses that loophole. It's as if he's blind to it.
Which is?
We have, as he said, a fail-safe system of due diligence. That's what he tells us. Okay, so we have, but how is it that nefarious characters are still slipping into that hole and getting citizenship of Dominica? If we have a fail-safe system, who is the criminal that is opening the safe and letting the crooks in? Where is it? My speculation is that what little I know of the government is that the minister has the final say. The buck has to stop with the minister who is in charge. So my question is the minister or whoever those ministers have been in the past to today still letting criminals in even after they have a negative, right? You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
A negative due diligence report. That's the only way they can get in, that the minister still allows it, even if it's negative. Why doesn't Mr. Skerritt block that hole? And it should be revealed if the minister is aware that there's a negative due diligence report. He should not let that person in. Thank you. Enough said.
Yeah, enough said. What I've heard, sometimes it's not even the minister. It's up to the agent. If the agent has enough clout, or the agent is big enough in the scheme of things of Dominica, the agent can override the due diligence and say, no, let the people have their passports. I'm understanding that has happened, and that may have been one of the issues involved in the British decision a couple of years ago to withdraw visa-free access for Dominicans into Britain. There were complaints about a set of people who had received passports or who were going to be receiving passports, the flag was waved in terms of their unsuitability, so to speak. And the due diligence flagged them, and they got passports nonetheless. And even after they got passports, and the British, I understand, may have indicated that those should be withdrawn. That never happened. The result of that is they said, okay, well, we're not going down that road with you. We're canceling visa access for persons with Dominican passports, visa-free access for the persons with Dominican passports into our country. Good afternoon.
Blessings to you, bro. What's up?
I'm good.
All right. Mr. Linton, there is a saying, I heard Matt was saying it, and I add a little, addition to it. I put an addendum, an addition. It's a reputation builds familiarity, character, and reputation as well. You have repeated so many things. That's why I get stuck in a classroom for many, many years. Afi Martin, Dr. Fontaine, and all the great minds. I named Dr. Clayton Shillingford, Dr. Gabriel Christian, and it's not doctors alone, I'm talking about Marlene Daytouche, Blue. Everybody teach me, I know that. Or no bless. Oh, doctors alone you're learning from. I learning from you to a dying fowl, a flying bird. Can you imagine, Mr. Linton, if your chicken come out of mother hen? It have 12 chicks and only 2 survive, Mr. Linton, or none? Isn't that a lesson, Mr. Linton?
Indeed.
Okay, because life itself, we think it's only in an institution of learning we can be educated. You saying something that's very interesting, and I know I'm not the person, the former parliamentarian you're talking about. I get dreaming. I say, don't think it's me you have to call.
Yeah. You better stay tuned. You were wrong not 35. You were wrong not 35 years ago. Huh?
Maybe in my former life, So
okay.
You saying something? Can you recall Angelo Allen? I forget to mention him as well. Told us years ago there was a particular lawyer that was promoting the sales of our passport, and even saying it as blunt, the more desperate somebody are, is the more money you can get for a passport. Can you recall the lawyer, Mr. Linton?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you. Very interesting. A particular lawyer, Angelo Allen, had information on telling us about how he was promoting and talking about, let's say, if the person is saying you ask that, and if the person is really desperate, you ask that amount. You can go up to $1 million.
I think I recall something like that. Was that is that lawyer now associated with the Electoral Commission?
No, he's almost like a freelancer, but directly affiliated.
Okay.
So to speak, I'll tell you.
Okay. All right.
So it's very interesting, Mr. Linton. What these guys have done, Mr. Linton, is to throw caution to the wind, figuring out might is right. But we love to cry when might come down with the big stick on us. Oh, reparation. You know that word there, Mr. Linton, reparation. I need reparation because I want to sell all my passport and all other things. Now I need reparation.
When is that? When is that going to be? The reparations for passport is when? When is that going to be?
What you going to do?
No. The reparations for passport is when? Right now, reparation for slavery, right now.
What that still do?
The reparations is for slavery right now. Reparation for slavery right now. So reparation for passport is when?
You get a little muscle in my
No,
phone.
I was asking. I'm saying reparations now is for slavery. All right. So I'm asking.
Okay.
So I'm asking. The reparations for passport is scheduled for when? When is that scheduled for the reparations?
Right now. Now.
Okay.
For the abuse, the extravagant, lavish, and insatiable, nasty attitude of these politicians I want reparation because I'm being enslaved under this administration. So when you have to go to the United Nations or something, I'm going to make a case for myself. I don't care about other people, but for me, I need reparation because my government is enslaving me for how much now? 25 years or 20 years under this administration? I'm the Dominican Lethal Party. Pierre Charles and Rudy, that was Labour. But I claim in reparation under the Dominican Lethal Party. So I am just saying, in the interest of time, so sorry, my apologies. In the interest of time, I am saying, Mr. Linton, we love crying and talk about Europe and America and slavery, and we need reparation, and they're claiming, the Europeans, they were not the one who enslaved us. And we are saying, oh, you inherited what your forefathers, what their forefathers have then enslaved us and achieved and steal from us and all of that. When we look at our own political strategy, condition, and psychology and everything, Mr. Linton, in many areas, don't you think it runs parallel with what the Europeans did to us? I'm asking a direct question, then I move on.
Yeah, well, I mean, oppression is oppression, you know.
Okay, because there's a great doctor who told me psychological violence is worse than physical violence.
Yep.
That's what a medical doctor told me, and I will always keep that in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
So I am just saying, my brother, it is bloody sad when you have people who think, well, they are the be-it-all, the ultimate, the end-it-all, and they can do whatever the hell they want because they're in power. But as soon as Europe and America, the powers that be, would come down on them with any little measure, Mr. Linton, you hearing them crying out. And you hearing them talking about unjust and who want to fight wars with all the money. I have been saying that once. A lot of people in the world, they are for war, and instead for them to use the money to help poor people and things, wars, they're fighting everywhere. Come on. So that's a deflection to not look at the real hardcore criminals right around you and look at overseas. So all passports they sell, and I talk about repetition, and you have said it so much. Now it seems like it have lost its salt, Mr. Linton. The billions we talking. How much it was last time we come? 8 billion?
That we couldn't account for.
Oh, that could not be accounted for.
Yeah.
And the way you see things,
we sold over $11 billion.
What's up?
We sold over $11 billion worth of passports.
Oui, bon Dieu, bon Dieu. And the way things are happening in Dominica, the way some unexplainable or monies that are not accounted for just showing up. And you have all kind of things bringing in Mia Motley and building mansions and many things. And you're asking where those monies are coming from to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mansions, build big mansions in Dubai and all kind of extravagant and lavish kind of attitude about it. And the FIU and the priests and the pastors in Dominica, the churches, whatever they are, they know things that happened thousands of years ago, but they don't know nothing about what is happening in Dominica presently. And guess what? We will all jump on the bandwagon and say, it's the opposition. The opposition are not doing enough. The opposition, me myself, I give you all your blows because I want all you to do more than all your fair share. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Blessings. As you was talking about mansions, I'm reminded of this line in the Bible. Blessings, it says, in my father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. I go now to prepare a place for you. You don't think you're a mansion, Blessings? You don't think you will get a mansion, Blessings? Good afternoon, 137. How are you doing? Good afternoon, Mr.
How are you?
Yeah, we are good. We're good. How are you doing?
Well, that's good. Good afternoon to all Dominicans. Mr. Linton, I did not got connected too early, but when I got connected, you were telling us about a press conference that took place by the Prime Minister
this morning.
And what I understood from what you were saying that took place in the press conference is that, based on what the Prime Minister was saying, if I'm wrong, let me know, because I don't want to say nothing that's wrong, is that we should not panic about travel ban because there is nothing alarming to alarm, right? That's what you were saying?
Yeah, basically. Words to that effect, yes.
So can I interpret that there's nothing to worry about?
There's nothing to worry
As of
about.
now?
There's nothing to worry
Right.
about. Yeah. If there's
Yeah,
something,
that is
as a matter of fact,
question.
the Prime Minister indicated if there's something to worry about, the government will let you know.
Right. But let me ask you, can we trust this Prime Minister? So let me not allow you to answer. I can answer that. We cannot trust the Prime Minister on anything he said. This is the same Prime Minister when people came from the diaspora, he was in a meeting with them and he said there will be no, he's going to do the electoral reform before election. And as soon as they turned their back, he called election, Mr. Linton. You remember that?
That was in 2022?
No. This is the Prime Minister that have been telling us lies upon lies upon lies. So to me personally, for me myself, anytime he promises something, I don't listen to him. Thank you.
All right. 1:38 is the afternoon time. This is Talk on the Block for today. Monday, June 23rd, 2025. And we thank you very, very much for joining us.
Are you 25 years or older? Do you have a Class C driver's license and a clean police record? If you answered yes to the above, then there are opportunities for you at ESA Trading Limited as a driver. Send your applications to martha@esatradinglimited.com or call 615-0921 for more information.
Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till your flood again, can't wait till your roof fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season and insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
During a hurricane, if there is a lull after the eye of the storm has passed, stay in a safe place, except to make emergency repairs. The wind may return suddenly with even greater strength. Since 90% of hurricane casualties occur from drowning, you must evacuate islands and beaches and other vulnerable locations as early as possible. And those seeking shelter should shut off water, gas, and electricity before leaving their home. A message from Q95 FM Radio.
Hey, you. Who? You. Me? Yeah. Are you looking for a quality milk that is rich, tastes good, and budget-friendly? Then Alban Milk is perfect for you. Alban Milk contains zinc, vitamin A, C, D3, calcium, and iron, and is 28% butterfat. It's an instant full cream milk powder and dissolves quickly and lump-free. Alban Milk is available in 3 different sizes: 400, 900, and 1800 grams. So add Alban Milk to the list the next time you shop.
Distributed by Fine Foods Inc. There's Smooth.
And then there's Guinness Smooth.
It's a brand new cool.
Incredibly smooth.
Perfectly balanced.
For a smooth and refreshing taste.
So how smooth? Well smooth. Guinness Smooth.
For a smooth and refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth. Must be 18 years or older. Drink responsibly. Socialize responsibly.
Locally distributed by Belfast Estate Limited.
Trust us, we can. The kind of loyalty you cannot find anywhere. National Cooperative Credit Union. Education, training, and information. Self-help, responsibility. Democratic equality, solidarity. And with you, we have no heart for our members. So become a member today at one of our local offices to help us make your dreams come true. 255-2126. NCB, your community financial partner.
One 46 at the telephone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
Andy Jolly. Good afternoon, bro. How are you?
Well, I'm doing all right here in Dominica. Just kind of listening to everything that's going on and paying attention. And I noticed that we're probably not really looking at the situation that as it is.
Which situation is it?
Well, we have a lot of situations, don't we?
Situation Central.
Well, yeah, we had that visa ban that was put on us, and I think, if you notice that the Marco Rubio met with all the dignitaries from all the different islands, and kind of had a face-to-face meeting, took some pictures with everybody, and then sent everybody back home, and that was the diplomatic part of the trip.
Right.
The second thing that happened, that if you notice, everybody came back home, there wasn't very much information that was given to us by our Prime Minister, who was right next to Marco Rubio. So, I mean, there wasn't very much information given. But if you noticed, a few islands got the travel ban, and those islands, as you said, mainly deal with some CBI and have a few other issues.
No, well, they got the threat of the travel ban.
The threat of the travel ban. But it really isn't a threat, though, Lennox. I'll tell you that they've been looking at this for a very, very long time. So it wasn't a threat. We knew that this was coming down the line eventually. And I think our Prime Minister and the other Prime Ministers knew that this was coming on the line. I don't know if you noticed, earlier last year, I think, or earlier this year, we had the gentleman from St. Kitts that was the movie director or the movie production company came out.
Philippe Martinez.
That's right. And he was very, very upset with some of the things that were being done in the CBI program. And he really said, look, I'm going to expose all of y'all, and I'm going to take advantage of this to show the world what you guys and China have been doing. And this was a promise kept, literally. And this gentleman was a very, very serious gentleman. And I know a lot of this was kind of swept under the rug by Antigua, St. Kitts, that because they had dealt with this. And they said, hey, we got rid of this guy, or we put everything back. So then we had a few months ago, and you can probably play back the clip if you can get it, that our Prime Minister came to us, and what he said was, we should all get behind the CBI program because every Dominican has benefited from the CBI program. So we doubled down on our efforts on the CBI.
Including Andy Jolly?
well, I don't know. I may have benefited in some way, some sort, but it's very unclear who benefits or what the benefits are from the program. And I'm going to tell you, if you ask most Dominicans, how do we benefit from the CBI program, nobody will be able to tell you. But our PM's building quite a sizable mansion and then lives in a sizable mansion that is being paid for by the Dominican public, which CBI money has probably been used to build those mansions.
It has been disclosed from within the government circles that over 2,000 homes have been built that have been handed out to residents of Dominica, funded by the Citizenship by Investment Program, for which the people have had to pay another dime. So that's a benefit there.
Don't get me wrong. I think somewhere in between there's a thing. But you have to understand, when we talk about homes, some of those homes are the size of my bedroom. So, I mean, I don't really know if those are really true numbers that were dealt with there, because none of those numbers were fully disclosed. But to go back to the CBI program, which is very interesting, they've put us in a very weird state. And you know, I know a lot of people out there know that I'm one of the biggest Trump supporters ever, and I'm also a big Republican as well.
Still, right?
Yeah, still. Oh, yeah, by far.
There was a time I thought we were more an Elon Musk man than a Trump man, but I don't know why I thought that.
Well, Elon Musk, Trump, and all the other associates, I associate with anybody in the billionaire group. I want to be their friend.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to...
Yeah, let's get that straight. Okay, all right.
I want if you're in the billionaire group, or if you're going to be in the billionaire group, consider me your friend.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Okay, well.
But here's the next problem that we have. I understand Donald Trump, and I love the way that he does things, and I understand how he works. But here's what they did. They gave us this travel ban, Lennox, and I want you to think on both sides of the travel ban. And I really want Dominicans to be more educated on the decisions that come down from the U.S. They gave us 60 days, and they said, you guys have some stuff to fix. And I'm pretty sure that our Prime Minister, Scary, knew that even before he came down from the meeting with Marco Rubio last time. But Lennox, we are, as Dominican people, are really, really, really messed up right now. Because on one side of the travel ban, you have to understand that if we do, we're damned, and if we don't, we're damned.
Did you listen to the press conference this morning?
I listened to the press conference this morning.
Did you hear the Prime Minister say that there seemed to be or suggest that one of the concerns, or the concern that the U.S. has is with purchasers of Dominican citizenship ending up with a change of name, and that they were going to.
We knew that there were things like that happening long before that. And I don't think that's the only problem that they have. And I think a lot of times the prime minister dummies down things and he nullifies them. Keep in mind, this is also the prime minister that never let us know that Canada was going to put a visa restriction on us. He never let us know England was going to put a visa restriction on us.
Canada was before his time. Canada was before his time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they never told
England
us
was
anything.
very much in his time. Britain was very much in his time, but Canada was before his time.
Yeah.
As prime
So
minister.
here's the dilemma that we have. So on one side, if we do accept America's proposal, Lennox, think about this. Our CBI program is a substantial figure of our GDP product of Dominica. So if we do accept America's proposal and say, look, we're going to ban CBI. We're no longer going to sell passports, even though we've agreed in Parliament that we're not going to use the word sell, even though we're selling them. We're no longer going to sell passports. Here it is that we've just lost. I think the number, Lennox, and you can correct me because you're really good at numbers, is about what, 40% of our GDP right now, right?
Yeah, about there. It's $600-700 million, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So now we've lost that entire amount because we decided we're no longer doing CBI again, right? So we've lost a significant portion of our revenue as our GDP.
Right.
What does that do for our country? Now, on the other side of it, let's say we say, hey, America, go ahead and ban us. No problem. We really don't care. We will continue selling passports. Keep in mind, we now have a ban on our country, which limits the amount of people that come here. And here's what we're going to see happen. You'll see companies like American Airlines begin to pull out. You'll see companies like the tourist ships that come from America begin to pull out. You'll see all the visitors that, whether they go to Secret Bay, whether they go to Jungle Bay and all the other boutique hotels we have in Dominica, you will see those numbers start dwindling away. And keep in mind, European visitors rarely spend very much money in Dominica. Americans are the one who spend the most money when they visit this country or any other country for a fact. So here it is that we've now crippled our economy on both sides. So how are we going to deal with this? So our prime minister goes up and he says there's nothing to worry about. Yes, sir, there's something to worry about on either side. And now we all know that President Trump is a man of his word. I'm the same way. I like the way he thinks. He said 60 days, give me some results, come back to me. I would like to know what you guys are going to do. And guess what? If we don't get back to him like 60 days, you know what he's going to do? He's going to put a couple bunker busters on us.
Yeah, but
and we're going to look
but the
a
likely,
lot
yeah,
like
but the
Iraq.
likelihood is that we will get back to him within 60 days. So
Well, we would, but what are we going to tell him?
yeah, for
That's
example,
what's more important.
for example, that purchasers of Dominican citizenship will be prohibited from changing their names. The U.S. has an interest in that, as the Prime Minister revealed at the press conference this morning, and they're working on that legislation.
But Lennox, between the two of us, do you honestly trust that the only problem that they have with it, that St. Lucia, St. Kitts, the rest of, I mean,
There's
keep in
this.
mind, Lennox,
Well, there's this other. What the U.S. has disclosed in that same communique or that report I saw
the letter.
is that there's an issue with purchasing citizenship without a residency requirement, without a requirement to be.
Which means, Lennox,
but that is not going to change. That has been there from inception, one would think, and I don't know how they change that in 60 days. But probably they can't.
Here's the
Probably
thing.
they can't.
All those things that you're talking about makes the program less admirable or less attractive to somebody who wants to buy it. So here you've depleted the program to a nothing program, because the people who really want to buy a passport, who have that type of money to change their name, change their try to be somebody else who they're not, those people, the passport's no longer attractive to them. Who wants to be a Dominican and move to Dominica and come here so that they can struggle with the Dominicans and spend $250,000 to buy a passport to move to Dominica with the leadership that we have, the economy that we have, and the struggle. Who's spending that type of money to move to Dominica? Who's going to do it? Unless they want those other benefits from the passport, which the U.S. decides they are no longer going to entertain. Who wants that? So now you've killed that program. So now you've killed the GDP of Dominica once again. Now keep in mind, Lennox, I'm going to tell you, 40% of our GDP right now, which is probably, we've lost 40% when Ross moved out. We're going to lose another 40% again. How much do we have left in the GDP?
Yeah, you have 20%.
Okay.
Yeah, but
can we operate the country on 20% GDP?
No, but remember, you lost 226% of your GDP in Hurricane Maria, and you're still we're still standing. You never heard that figure? You never heard that figure? The 226% of GDP that we lost in Hurricane Maria. We're still standing.
But Lennox, I'm going to tell you, are we standing as tall as we should stand?
No.
On the other proposal, a lot of those other countries spent their CBI money correctly. St. Kitts did a really good job. They have a lot of industry. They have a lot of hotels that are working. They have a lot of tourism. So if they say, hey, you know what, we don't like the CBI anymore, they're going to do very well as countries. Now, if you have another country like St. Lucia, they've done very well with the CBI program. They've built some hotels. They've got some industries. They've got a good tourism program going. Don't get me wrong. They're not as healthy as they should. But I'm pretty sure St. Lucia is healthier than us. They have a population of just under 200,000 people. Antigua, they're doing okay. They're not suffering. I think they're doing okay. Don't get me wrong. Could it be better? Yes, everything could be better. But keep in mind, of all those OECS countries that they have on that list, Dominica has the greatest GDP when it comes to the CBI program. And Dominica stands to lose the most. And this is the education that I want to bring to the Dominican public. Don't worry about the other countries. They will be just fine. But our country losing 40% of its GDP at a time like this, when we're already under the gun and suffering, will be dealt a significant blow.
When you say under the gun, we have to make the observation.
Well, we have a bad economy.
But we have to make the observation that we are the smallest GDP in the OECS grouping. We are the only one.
True.
We are the only one below $2 billion EC dollars.
Exactly.
The only one below $2 billion.
This is what I'm talking about under the gun. Thanks for explaining to the people.
It's rough for us. And
but
when you think,
it's not really rough yet. Keep in mind, Lennox, we have several programs: airport, marina, several hotels that are being built with CBI money. Where is this new CBI money going to come to finish those projects? There's a good chance that a lot of all those other projects that we're now doing, remember, those other countries are not building an airport. The other countries they're not building marinas. In fact, they have marinas already. We're building our first marina in Dominica with CBI. We're building our first international airport. Some of the other countries have two of them already.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. You know what I'm hoping, Andy Jolly? That it's not new CBI money that we're going to be reliant on to complete the airport and to complete the marina and those other pieces of the economic infrastructure that will be critical for us going forward. That we already have that CBI money to do.
So Leonard,
to
I'm going to ask you an important question.
Saying.
Are you on your knees praying right now, or are you just hoping aimlessly? Which one?
No, what I would like to do, honest truth, I would like to see what kind of role.
But Lennox, they've not given us any clarity on this at all. No, there's been no clarity. This is what I'm telling you. This is why our PM comes up on stage and explains to people all these things, but he does not tell us, well, guys, the CBI, we have all the money for the airport. The CBI, we have all the money for
the marina. Right.
The hotels that are being built,
we have all the money to complete
already.
Yes.
These are the things I want to hear from when Mr. Skerritt opens his mouth. These are the things I would like to hear. I don't want to hear about don't be worried about the U.S. And you know why I don't want to hear that? Because I have several friends who have emails, I can send you some of them if you'd like, that said, guys, guess what? I can't get back into the U.S. They're telling me don't travel because guess why? I have a visa. They actually started telling people, we don't want you back in the country as yet until further notice. Even though those people came from that country, they can legally go. They've already shut down the visa program to Barbados, if I'm correct. They're no longer giving out any more visas. Am I correct on that? So far?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they've stopped doing visa appointments in Barbados.
They have suspended visa issuing
Program.
visas at the embassy in Barbados.
At the embassy.
Yeah, that's where we get our visas. That's where we.
That's been out there for.
That's where we get our visas from, the Dominican.
Yeah. So here it is that I would like to know that. But Lennox, this is something that you could probably look into it for the people of Dominica. Do we have these programs already paid for, or were we relying on new money to come in?
That's a very important
and
question.
take care of those programs?
Very important question, and that is something that I'm sure the Prime Minister should be able to bring clarity to. You know.
Well, we need to clarity on that because again, Lennox, remember we're going to lose a significant either which way this travel ban goes, and people should not be worried about the travel. The travel ban is a nail. The question is how hard are we going to pound the nail? And our PM needs to sit down and take a good hard look and see where things are going to go from there. Because really and truly, Lennox, we're between a rock and a hard place right now. And Dominica needs to be educated that this is coming down the line. It's going to make everything coming into Dominica more expensive from the U.S. It's going to really create some chaos. Our hotels, and I think I brought that to the attention of on the radio the other day, our hotels are seeing a significant decline in bookings right now. And the
Stick a pin right there. The hotels are experiencing reduced bookings from the U.S. market.
Yeah, I can send you the communique that they send out on that. I have one. I'll send it to you in a little while. You can read it on the radio. They put out that
because
something out in the public.
especially since most recently the bombing of the nuclear sites in Iran and the threat of retaliation against Americans, it could well mean that Americans stay home more than go overseas and make themselves more vulnerable to attacks in that context. So I wanted to ask you about that. What do you make of?
Well, I just sent it to you on your text right now. So if you take a look at your text, you can kind of read the information that I got, and this was from the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. I just sent it to you on your text. This was a communique that was sent out last week.
Somebody is saying here that you may be incorrect about the Bridgetown Embassy and issue of visas because they have an appointment. I have a visa appointment at the Bridgetown Embassy for next week, so I don't know. But let's see.
Well, let's take a look. We'll see how that's going. But literally, again, like I said, they're reducing everything down slowly around us. They're slowly, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you.
Here's what you've just sent to me. I'm going to read it.
Go ahead.
It says there is growing consensus among Caribbean hoteliers that demand from the U.S. market has softened significantly in recent months, largely attributed to economic uncertainty following former President Trump's remarks on tariffs. Several hoteliers across the region are reporting year-over-year booking declines of up to 30% from bookings received from April 1st to May 30th for future stays compared to 2024. Adding to this challenge is the recent discussion around a potential U.S. travel ban, which reportedly includes Dominica and 4 other Caribbean nations. This has already begun to fuel further uncertainty and trigger cancellations. The Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, CHTA, has been actively engaged on this matter and will be issuing an official update to all national hotel and tourism associations shortly. This communication aims to clarify the situation and help counter the misinformation currently circulating. Additionally, CHTA has indicated it will soon request updated data from member associations to gauge booking trends for the months ahead. I've requested clarification on the specific data points they're seeking so we can prepare accordingly. In the meantime, this is a heads up that we'll need to conduct a quick pulse survey of member hotel properties to support CHT's advocacy efforts. This data will be instrumental in their ongoing engagement with U.S. embassies, regional heads of government, and the U.S. State Department. And it says more to follow soon from the CHTA. Okay, so that's the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. Thanks for that, Andy. Very useful.
Oh, you're welcome. And you know, Mr. Linton, I'm going to point to you again, and you probably know that. What did we spend most of our CBI money on making?
Hotels.
Okay, look at the position that we've been put in. We made the wrong decision. We spent most of our money on hotels. They're telling us hotels bookings are going down because they're tightening up their belt. So we really spent our CBI money incorrectly. So we really have something to think about. So if Mr. Skerritt is listening, I'm going to tell him, I beg you, sir, to listen to Mr. Trump. He's a very, very serious man. And Mr. Trump does not do his work himself. He's going to send Marco Rubio to do it for you. He's going to send a few of the other dignitaries, the Secretary of State, to do it for you. But they really mean business, and they want to see this thing cleaned up as soon as possible. And cleaning it up does not make it valuable for Dominica anymore. So we need to start thinking of other sources where we could gain revenue. We need to start thinking of other places where we could gain good choice and good favor. And keep in mind, lastly, the people that we've aligned with, which is China, of course, and some of the other countries that we've aligned with, they cannot help us. They're not in a position to help us. China's not in a position to help us. None of them will run to our aid. We don't have any tourist boats that land here from China. We have no Chinese that help support the Dominican economy. We have no industries in Dominica that belong to the Chinese government or to even Dominica that is being aided by the Chinese. So we need to start thinking differently. Mr. Skerritt is not business as usual anymore. We need the smart people at the forefront. We need the ideas at the forefront. This is a very tender time for Dominica. And trust me, our people will suffer if the wrong directions or if the wrong decisions continue to be made.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy Jolly, at 2:10 in the afternoon.
The United Nations has declared 2025 as the International Year of Cooperatives. Cooperative Day, Saturday, July 5th. The Cooperative Movement presents the Cooperative Awards celebrations. Awards to deserving cooperative heroes past and present at the Intercontinental Hotel in Portsmouth. From 7 p.m., Cooperative Day, Saturday, July 5th. Invitations only. Cocktails, drama, music, entertainment. International singing star Michael Henderson. Joy, Calypso Monak. Saxophonist Kimani Toussaint. Panman Pius John Baptist. The Cooperatives Awards Ceremony, Intercontinental Hotel, July 5th, 7 p.m. Celebrating volunteerism, keeping the spirit of Kudma forever strong.
David, you sure this car will get us home?
Tonya, I know my God. Trust me. That can take us to town and back on an eater. Wow, not now.
David, I told you to put in Rubis Ultratech fuel last week. That gas is longer lasting for sure. It improves fuel economy, saves you money, and maintains vehicle performance. What sort of car man you supposed to be?
What does Ultratech Fuel's greater fuel economy mean to you? You get more miles for less, but only the best in your tank. Ultratech, only from Rubis.
The time check is brought to you compliments Blast Bistro. Good food, good vibes, located on the 3rd floor of the Dominican National Lottery Building.
The New India Insurance Company has reopened its doors in Portsmouth, offering the same great services you get in Roseau. Motor vehicle insurance, home and business owners, fire and related perils, public liability, and so much more. Come, visit us today for insurance with a personal touch on Bay Street, Portsmouth, or call us at 445-4023. We are ready to serve you.
Universal Elegance, the place to shop for home. Universal Elegance, Universal Elegance, Universal Elegance, the place to shop for vehicles. Universal Elegance, Universal Elegance, Universal Elegance, the place to shop for appliances. Universal Elegance, Universal Elegance.
After working hard for many years in London, Goldwyn is now retired and back living in Dominica enjoying his pension. He too shook a smile so we can see the gold teeth and too shook a yarn. I met him coming out of Floss's with the help of some staff carrying different foods, drinks, and meats to his vehicle. Myself too fast to go and ask the man what's up. Is their story start? And when we finish to have our words, so that Kadimo de San Dominic Puffini la hamwe. I said, Goldwyn, speak in English, don't force it. Then he said, I shop with intelligence, yeah? At Floss's, you get the most reasonable prices for the bag flour, rice, sugar, milk, beers, soft drinks, water, rum, and so much more. Prices and quantities to fit your needs, mate. Because you just come down and want to tell me what I know about Floss's already. That's where I shop. It's not you alone that want to save money but still get the quality goods. That's right. And if you're listening to this ad, go and check out Floss's for yourself. Next to the Roseau Market, you can't miss it.
Now opened on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Good afternoon, Leonard. I just tuned in and I hear you and Jolly on the radio. But the embassy, America gives all embassies to stop issue visas for students. For students all over the world, they stop issuing visas for students. I don't know for passengers or for our visitors, I don't know. But I heard it, and it's for students all over. Issuing Barbados, they can't issue no visa for students right now until things straighten up. Okay? It's for students.
Our financial year closes on the 30th of this month, and then in the weeks subsequent to that, there will be the budget presentation in the Parliament of Dominica. That's how it's been for the past few years. Curtis Matthew asking the Prime Minister a question at the press conference this morning about when it's budget, etc., what date and so on. But we're taking you back this afternoon in the budget season spirit to 1990, 35 years ago, in a conversation with then parliamentarian Michael Douglas, who had earlier been relieved of the responsibility of leader of the opposition. It was taken over by Edison James, whose party got the most seats outside of the majority party in the parliament in 1990 and became the parliamentary opposition. And so Michael Douglas was in parliament, but not as leader of the opposition for the first time in a number of years. And this was his conversation with me on a television show that we used to call What About back then. Listen carefully, people, and see what has changed, if much, in terms of the kind of conversations and the things that they were grappling with back then on the question of growing the economy and making things better for the people of Dominica. Up next, a 1990 conversation post-budget with former deceased parliamentarian Michael Douglas. In 1990, of course, the government was the government of Dame Eugenia Charles of the Dominica Freedom Party.
A budget debate sprinted for the history books in record time this week. Prime Minister Charles opened on Monday last week. And then 3 days ago, the leader of the opposition, Mr. Edison James, responded, and so did one member of his team. And then the Prime Minister returned to the microphone, and it was all over. Yes, end of chapter, close the book till next year, same time frame, same location. Tonight, with all of your phone calls, we will examine two perspectives on the 1990 budget. The first will come from veteran parliamentarian Michael Douglas, who has headed off the opposition responses to the budget for the last 10 years, but was silent this year for the first time since 1975. And later, we'll hear from the newly elected president of the Dominic Association of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Sheridan Gregoire. Michael, once again, welcome to the studios of Mappin Television. The 1990 budget, in the context of the budgets with which you've been familiar and to which you've responded in more recent times.
The 1990 budget was, if you like, an as-you-were budget in terms of there were no new measures, new tax measures in that budget. That is not to say, of course, the budget is tax-free. I think it is mischievous for some people to say that the budget is tax-free, but it certainly is very, very far from tax-free.
Tax-free meaning no new taxes?
Well, tax-free cannot mean no new taxes. Tax-free means no taxes. No taxes are to be paid. Either, for example, that income tax was abolished, then there could have been some justification to say if income tax had been abolished altogether, that the budget was tax-free. But this budget, in fact, intends to raise some $11.9 million more than last year's budget with no new tax measures. That is to say, the existing tax measures have been streamlined. They've had an opportunity to look at them, to see them function in the fiscal year, and that now they're satisfied that they're going to raise, at least they hope to raise $11.9 million more than the previous year. Now, I think they're not going to be raising that because there has been, by the budget's own admission, a downswing in the economy, a recession. I mean, budgets are in fact an economic and financial tool, an economic tool, a fiscal tool, which is meant to regulate the economy, either to speed it up or to slow it down, in response to a period, the previous 12-month period, as to what is happening. And indeed, what has happened in the outside world. Negotiations taking place, for example, in the GATT in Geneva. As far as agricultural subsidies are concerned, the events that will take place in 1992, as far as we're concerned, the budget needs to respond to that. The heads of government meeting, which is taking place in Jamaica next week. The budget needs to look at all those and see how Hurricane Hugo and how we have functioned in the past 12 months. What are the projections for the next 12, and to regulate the economy so that we can live better.
In terms of the challenge ahead for 1992 and stuff, your charge is that that has not been addressed at all, or it has not been addressed adequately?
Well, I mean, I don't think this has been addressed at all, because there's a synergism that has to be put into place to ensure that certain things take off. One doesn't speak of...
They made initiatives in agriculture with some of the programs that they're planning to facilitate the diversification effort, etc. That has been catered for in the budget.
Well, it has been spoken about in the budget. It has been spoken about in many, many budgets. When I was Minister of Agriculture way back in 1975, we brought on the tree crop diversification program, the coconut rehabilitation program. All those were meant to diversify, so that we have been on the diversification path for a long time. Now, with the urgency of 1992 so close to us, then a certain revolutionary activity, a quick change pace needs to take place to ensure that we can cushion the effects of 1992.
What are the features of that revolutionary kind of activity?
Well, if you look at the technology that is available in some of the countries that have diversified, look at Taiwan, for example. If you look at, just take a simple thing like papaya. If you're going to be diversified, and I'm suggesting that in a situation in Dominica, we're not going to be mass producing things, even in agriculture, in competition with countries that have thousands and thousands of acres of flat land. So we're going to be looking at producing a high quality specialty product. And to do that, therefore, one has to employ high level technology. If you look at what's happening in papaya now, you'll see that a papaya farm with trees of no taller than 6 feet, for example, my height, and all loaded with papaya that a little boy could pick and pack, put in a box and so on. That kind of revolution, we're still picking papaya in Dominica with what we often refer to as a cork, a stick, so that a whole revolution, we cannot continue the leisurely pace. In fishing, for example, which with the law of the sea and the new extended boundaries, we have a tremendous resource that is out there on tap. We need to be looking at serious trawlers, the way the Japanese, we almost have to be like Jesus Christ meeting St. Peter after they had fished all night and telling them to throw their nets down and to get fish, because Jesus Christ knew that there was fish there. Now, the Japanese people who do that now, who look and tell you can put your nets down because there are fish there, because they have the technology. That is the kind of revolution that needs to take place.
Let's talk about the budget in terms of the capital program and how that looks at positioning us for the future.
In the present circumstances, I see an as-we-were budget, a mark-in-time situation. There's been really no change. We've had 1 hour votes from the Prime Minister. And maybe this is what a lot of people are looking for. They're looking for a situation of oratory. And I think some people are disappointed, as you said at the beginning, that the budget debate did not go on. It was a short budget debate, because a lot of people are disappointed, because we've almost developed a tradition in Dominica now that the budget debate is time for great oratorial skill and expression. When in truth and in fact, it is a serious moment. In fact, it is the real moment that you have to examine your economy.
Did you boycott the debate on the budget in Parliament?
No, certainly not.
What happened?
No, but I am no longer the leader of the opposition. I have had to respond to budgets as soon as the Prime Minister speaks, immediately after. Usually it's a day. I find she was very generous this time. She gave a week to look at the budget. I always complained, for example, that one could not expect me to seriously comment on a document that had taken experts in the Ministry of Finance 3 months to produce within 24 hours. But usually I had 24 hours to respond to the Prime Minister's budget. This time she gave us a week. But I have had to respond for 10 years. And thank God this time there's a new leader of the opposition. It's a job I didn't want. Thank God relieved me of it, and I'm very grateful that he did that to me. There's a new leader of the opposition, and there is a majority opposition party that is supposed to respond to the Prime Minister's party. It is their job now. We are the minority opposition party. Yes, it is over. And personally, I did not feel that I wanted to respond close to the leader of the opposition. That would have put in the minds of the public that I wanted to compete with him, and nothing could be further from the truth. Our job is still to get the government out of office, and we hope that we can assist the UWP in this particular regard at this point in time. So that I didn't want to go into any immediate competition. I am probably more experienced than he is. Some say I'm a better orator than he is. And had I spoken close to him, the comparisons would have been drawn. And people in the UWP would have been saying, you see, Mike, he said he didn't want the job, but there he is now competing for it again. So I really didn't want that to happen. And therefore I was waiting.
You chose to remain silent?
Yeah, no, I did not choose to remain silent. I was waiting to speak at a later stage of the proceedings.
Which never came up because... All right. Let's talk a little more about the budget. The whole question of preparing us for what is to come. Let's look at education, for example. Do the measures go far enough?
No. I mean, certainly, there's one major thing. Even as a non-expert in education, and I don't say that I am. I mean, I see we have an expert now as minister, and I hope we can expect great things from him. I hope great things will be forthcoming. But as a layman, I can say that one of the things we require most of all is an increase in the places in secondary school. And nowhere in the budget do you see that secondary schools are to be increased, the space in the secondary schools are to be increased. The number of schools, for example, like I say, Savin Pai School for one, and the Dodan School, for example, that are underutilized. And I'm sure there are many more elementary schools in Dominica that are underutilized. That now needs, last year there were 2,000 odd children that had common entrance. And I suspect most of them are capable of receiving a secondary school education, wait not for the fact that there were no places available. And this is a terrible gap that we have now. And the budget ought to have responded to this. I mean, there's nothing there at all about it.
Let's shift focus. The management of the economy. What does the budget say about that?
It says that the economy will continue to be managed as it has been managed in the past. Fine. The question is, what has been the results of the management of the economy in the past? The results of that management has been
surplus on current account.
Yes, a surplus in current account. But then anybody can show surplus in current account. I mean, most of us run in today's living, run overdrafts. But in truth and fact, we can show surpluses on our current account if we want to ensure there's no food in the fridge and that the car tires are bald and et cetera, so make that kind of sacrifice, almost superhuman sacrifice. Then if we choose to keep 2,000 of our children out of secondary schools, we can balance our budget. Anybody can balance a budget when it comes to that. The question is, what do you unbalance in this effort to balance the budget? So that, yes, budgets have been balanced. But we've had to, as a result of these balanced budgets, have had to see so many of our young people leave the country in search of greener pastures abroad. Now, is that a country that is developing? Is that true development taking place? In other words, while from a purely fiscal, statistical point of view, the dry statistics of the matter, we're balancing the budget, what is happening to the people? And politics is about people. This whole exercise of the budget is for the people.
It will be argued that the government faces some very difficult circumstances.
Indeed.
You take Hurricane Hugo last year, for example, and the tremendous fallout that caused in the banana industry. Obviously, with a serious impact on the revenue situation of the country. Some $30 million went down the drain in that disaster. Does that constrain the ability with which any government is able to plan or budget resources?
But obviously, if you plan, you're a working man. If you receive a salary of $3,000 a month, and you plan that at the end of the 12-month period, you will have accumulated $36,000 less what you require for living and so on. And then suddenly you've lost your job. Obviously, it throws a span in the works, as it were. But then at the same time, if you had an uncle down the road whom you knew with a little bit of proper talking to and entreating, you could have had 20,000 or so from him to break that shortfall, and you deliberately failed to extract that 20,000 from him, then you cannot expect the people to be sympathetic with you for that shortfall.
Who are these uncles that the government had?
The uncles were there in Europe.
Yeah.
We had a resolution moved in Europe. I mean, I heard in the budget, the Prime Minister said that so far only about $1.8 million of Stabex has arrived in the country. The Dominican Labour Party had a resolution moved in the European Parliament in the name of Dominica to expedite the Stabex payments. We asked the government of Prime Minister Charles to use their good graces with their own friends in the European Parliament so that that resolution would have had majority support, thereby creating the sort of framework that the Commission could have been so disposed because of majority support in the European Parliament to let us have our money as soon as possible. So I don't have any sympathy for the government because now they've only received $1.8 million in Stabex funds, when in truth and in fact with a little bit more effort on their part, they could have been received of a lot more.
Simply put, we are in need of more money to go around to create a better life for the people, to improve the quality of life overall.
Mm-hmm.
The budget has attempted to address that in some ways. What would be your prescription?
Well, first of all, that's why we always speak of ideological path, because this particular budget is a budget that comes out of the ideological stable, the philosophical stable of this particular government. If a Labour Party government, for example, would have come out of a different philosophical and ideological stable and therefore approached things much differently. First of all, on the economy, we feel, for example, that this particular administration started off by saying that the government was not going to be borrowing any money. It was going to be leaving the money there for the private sector to borrow. Now, after 10 years, we find the government is using some $32 million. One of the recurring phrases in this budget is from local sources, from local sources, from local sources. So in truth and in fact, the government is using up $32.9 million, in fact, of money from local sources that would have been available for the same private sector that it says it requires to engine the economy.
But the government has also been able to attract a significant amount of concessionary financing from overseas.
So all governments have been able to. So governments have been able to before. There's the Deepwater Harbour there. There's the police headquarters. The basic infrastructures were there long before. Indeed,
you feel like
when this government came to power, the national debt was $77 million. Today it is about 369, I think, by the latest figures of this budget.
But didn't you expect
it to 269?
Didn't you expect it to increase?
Oh, indeed, I expect it to increase. But in any situation, I expect debt to increase. But it's a question of when I take stock as to why I've increased my debt. If I can see a new car in the drive, in fact, I said, well, I've increased my debt by $50 million because I bought a new Subaru. But if I've increased my debt by $50 million or $40 million and I don't see that new Subaru in the drive, then I'm worried because I might have just had a party.
In terms of the government and Dominica, the new Subaru is in the form of the improvements to the infrastructure that have been done. You had a situation where the roads needed to be repaired, etc. The network was there, but the roads needed to be repaired, and that took a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, the substantial increase in the debt, I don't see it reflected vis-a-vis what the government met, the infrastructure the government met there, and the debt incurred for that infrastructure. I don't see a comparative amount for the rate of increase in the debt. I don't see a comparative amount of infrastructure has been put in. That's what I don't see. Fine. So that we would have approached it differently. We would have been ourselves the major engine, because after waiting for the private sector for 10 years, we still, as I say, have a high element of unemployment. They say 17% of women are unemployed in this budget. I think it's a lot more, for example. And apart from that, as I said, thousands of young people have left the country. So that we were wrong to bank as heavily as we did on the private sector as the main engine for development in the first instance.
By the way, we're taking your phone calls for veteran parliamentarian Michael Douglas. We are discussing the 1990 budget. And the number to call, our new number, 88004. Services, tourism. How are we doing?
Well, we said in the budget that tourism increased last year by less than 1%.
1989.
Yeah, 1989 over 1988, less than 1%. In fact, all the major indicators were in recession. Agriculture, A decrease there. We say, okay, because of Hurricane Hugo, and there were other factors before Hurricane Hugo, of course. Price and other factors decreased by 12.8%. Construction, a fall of 6.8% over the previous year. Mining and quarrying decreased by 7.3%. Transport down 2.6%. Tourism, the growth of less than 1%. Less than 1%. So that we have an entire recession.
But that situation is not amend. The figure for the comparative period this year, I think up to first half of the year, something they're reporting 70% over.
Yeah, but that looks like a flash in the pan. 70% is not the kind of figure of growth that you have. It's phenomenal. If you look at it, if you look between the statistics, you will find that one or two things have probably happened. It is like as though you banked rate of growth in tourism on the year we had 2 years ago. What did we call it now? Reunion year. If you banked the amount of, if you took that figure and you said, well, if this is the rate of increase in tourism, obviously you're going to find yourself into problems. And I suspect the 70% increase has a story behind it.
To your phone calls for Michael Douglas. Rosa, hello. Call is gone. So tourism and the service sector, we're looking at it as a serious growth area of the future. Let's talk about how the budget approaches that from the point of view of allocation of resources and a plan.
The budget allocates $1.5 million for manufacturing and tourism in terms of infrastructure. Well, if you look at it, $1.5 million.
Is there any breakdown on the estimates?
Yes, there is. Yeah, I think it's page 22 in the budget address. I think somewhere about there.
No, I mean a breakdown of the allocation for manufacturing and tourism to know what's going where.
No, it says industry and tourism 1.5 million. So we don't know. Okay. No, but I was looking at that figure to see how poultry it is. If you're looking with 1992 ahead, if you're really planning, and you say that really the only things that can really take up that slack are manufacturing and tourism. Tourism, where we have a comparative advantage, ecotourism, the kind of country we have, and how we're going to package and sell this. The Freedom Party spent $1.5 million advertising themselves for the last election. So you're not going to put $1.5 million to advertise or to energize growth in industry and tourism for the country and expect that you will have created in this short space of time something that can take up the slack to replace the banana industry. That's what I meant by a revolutionary transformation that needs to take place. And this is what this budget ought to have addressed now in 1990, and it has not addressed.
To your phone calls for Michael Douglas, Canefield, hello.
Hello. I am a little surprised that Mr. Douglas, when he says there is no evidence of all the debt that has been incurred by government, is that the same Michael Douglas who was Minister of Finance when the treasury was empty and when there was no drugs in the hospital? Is that still?
As far as empty treasury is concerned, of course, that has always been Freedom Party's propaganda. You recall the elections were somewhere about the 21st of July of 1980, and the Freedom Party came to office on the 23rd, and they were able to pay civil servants at the end of the month, so that they could not have inherited them the treasury. And no treasury is never empty to that in that sense. And even in a deeper sense. No, I did not say it. No, that's purely propaganda. And talking about drugs in the hospital, of course, there was 2 or 3 years ago, we went for about 6 months with no antitetanus injection in the hospital here. So we constantly, only in fact on Sunday night in Portsmouth, we had a man and a woman dying from a fire in a house not 50 yards away from the fire station, right in Portsmouth. So that's the level of services that you have in Dominica today.
In terms of generating wealth, we spoke just now about tourism. Let's just look at manufacturing.
Well, as I said, if you look at this particular amount of $1.5 billion between manufacturing and tourism, the only growth you've had in manufacturing has been soap. There has been growth in manufacturing in total. But if you break it down and look at where did the growth come from in manufacturing, it is from DCP and soap in particular. And I understand in the first 3 months of this year, DCP, based on what was said at the last annual general meeting, there are some serious problems developing in the market. So that we have some dark clouds even in the manufacturing that is coming up now. So that we really need to go into some very, very serious, much larger amounts of money required. The change of resource allocation needs to take place to ensure that we fire those industries that are likely to be able to give us the base of that diversification that needs to sustain us when bananas go.
Back to your phone calls for Michael Douglas. Goodwill, hello.
Yes, I would like Mr. Douglas to examine with me what I see as a disaster. Government, after the Prime Minister had extended time to her ministers to 1 hour, that not one minister of government thought it fit in the interest of the country, in the interest of sending progressive signals of financial management and responsibility to the youngsters of the nation, to the children of secondary schools, that not one minister thought it fit to utilize that time and make a statement on the budget. Whereas I look at the tradition that has been set, even in this house, where the government speaks, somebody from the opposition or two respond, and then a one-on-one or one-on-two situation continues. Here we had a situation where the Prime Minister presented a budget. Two people from the major opposition faction responded. I am saying it was time for either somebody from the government or somebody from the other faction of the opposition to speak before anybody else again from the UWP. I am asking Mr. Douglas to expound on this, to give me his views on that.
Thank you, Connor.
Well, I clearly cannot speak for the government. If I was a government minister, I would say that I would be inclined to respond if I felt that the presentation of my Prime Minister was seriously damaged by the opposition's arguments. And I leave that there. As to whether, if I was a minister, the only thing that could have energized me to respond would be if what the opposition had just said had seriously dented the credibility of the budget presented by my Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister presented a budget. Fine. As far as our response from the other side of the opposition, from the minority opposition, if I can put it that way, the question for me in particular was, after Mr. James had spoken and Mr. Romanus Manners had spoken for about 30 minutes, whether coming to speak then for me as a former leader of the opposition, somebody who had just moved out of that office for that matter, and somebody who had responded for the past 10 years, whether I would have done justice to the principle of attempting to ensure that the opposition was as united as possible, always to offer an alternative to the people of Dominica, whether justice would have been done to that principle had I attempted to compete with Edison James in terms of criticizing the budget. And I did not feel this was the time for it. I did not feel that I wanted to do that. I did not feel it was in the best interest of the country to do it. I did not feel it was my role after 10 years in opposition to do this.
The capital program, the government, the allocations for public sector investment. Let's talk about that.
Well, I mean, I am the beneficiary in Portsmouth as the Parliament representative in Portsmouth after hitting at the government for 10 years and everybody shouting the member for Portsmouth for 10 years. I am perhaps one of the major beneficiaries of this public sector investment program in Portsmouth. We have the cruise ship facility being built. We have a new hospital coming up. We have the infrastructure being done at Chance. We have a major water program going on for the town. So that I have very little argument with the capital estimates from a political point of view. And what I would say, though, from a national point of view, if I was the leader of the opposition, the major criticism for me would have been too much of that is coming from local revenue. The government is sucking up, if you like, sapping up too much of the local capital, accumulated local capital, which should be available for investment by the private sector, small entrepreneurs, long-term financing and so on. The government is using up $32.9 million of this, which is much too much. It should have been for the government and boasts of being good financial management, having a lot of friends abroad, and that kind of thing. The government should have been in a position to raise that $32 million from foreign sources at lower levels of interest.
We spoke of manufacturing. We looked at manufacturing. I think you're completing a point on manufacturing when I interrupted you, because you were looking at some things that we could do to assist in building that sector, giving it more importance so that it can play its role in generating the wealth that we need to go around.
Yes, I think the action has to be really with this small entrepreneur. One of the fundamental things with small entrepreneurs is that they do not function properly in an atmosphere of victimization and so on. Democracy is, you know what democracy does? Democracy releases the creative energies of people. And then when you have people like say, Dorian Paul being fired and things like that, the era of victimization and so on continuing, you don't get a thriving young entrepreneurship class growing up in the country. So quite apart from the money, National Development Foundation and other, the Aid Bank and other institutions have been set up to assist them with the finance, promotion, assisting them with technical skills, transfer technology, and so on. The creative air that they need to really blossom is not currently existing in our country, and this is something we need to look at very seriously.
But in terms of the manufacturing, one of the big concerns is the capacity for export, and because that's going to be important in how we deal with our balance of payments, balance of trade situation, which is worsening.
Yes, which has worsened very seriously. The only way you can deal with this really is in small contract hours is technology. I mean, this is, as somebody said to me a while ago, the technology is out there. We shouldn't go through the old, we don't have to rediscover the wheel. The technology is out there, we should go out there and buy it and use it to get where we want to get in the shortest possible time, because we need to get there. We just don't have the time. Too many of our people, too many young people. I mean, another thing again, this budget I find that it really needs to be catered to. In the absence of being able to produce the kind of money that we require. One of the ways we can do this again is to imbibe our people with the necessary skills and professions that are required. Education. Now, my experience is, for example, Dominic Lib Party, we've been offering 12 universities, 6 university scholarships this year, and another 5 at the techno-medio level, at the middle level. And we found the caliber of people who have applied for this scholarship. These are A-level students, 2 and 3 A-levels, who cannot get scholarships. I mean, how can you in a small country like Dominica have people with 2 and 3 levels that you cannot train?
We run out of time. Let me take a final call. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes.
Quickly.
This is to Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
We heard on the airport before the hurricane from the budget, but we haven't heard anything about the airport in the budget. Can you give me an idea?
It was addressed.
It was addressed.
There was a hint of the airport in the budget, but not as to do any airport at this point in time. Again, that was just an election ploy, I think, by the government.
Final word, 30 seconds.
This is a as you were budget, and this is not. We cannot afford to be as you were. We cannot afford to mark time. There are too many things pending. There are too many situations in the outside world there that we need to accelerate ourselves to take charge of the situation to mark time. And therefore, this budget ought to have. And then there are too many areas in recession that we should not have re-stimulated. We should have had a budget re-stimulating the economy, reducing taxation in certain measure, ensuring the creative energies of our people are released so that we can move forward to take our place. This is a standstill budget, and really nothing tax-free about it.
Michael Douglas, thank you very much for joining us.
That was 35 years ago, 1990. Conversation with former parliamentarian, deceased Michael Douglas. He passed the year after. Passed in 1991. Interesting conversation. This is Talk on the Block for today, Monday, 23rd of June in the year 2025. We thank you for joining us.
and home improvement, building supplies for you, kitchen appliances, even home decor too. Lumber, lawn, all your garden supplies, plumbing, welding, electrical supplies.
Visit Do It Center at the former Jane Hassett Hardware location on Goodwill Road. Call us at 255-6890. Center. Boombox. We now carry and are fully stocked in granola fertilizers. Urea 46%. Great for leafy green 15-15-15. Great for all vegetables or young fruit trees. 20-20-20. Best for foliar spray and seedings and small vegetables. 12-12-17. Great for tree crops or flowering vegetables and fruits. 12-24-12. Root crop fertilizer like dasheen and white potato. 12-4-28. Great for tree crops or flowering vegetables and fruits. Red potash for fruit trees and vegetables. All the fertilizers you need are available at Bloombox, located on Federation Drive, Goodwill, second property on the right after the Valley League Road. Your one-stop shop for everything that grows. Let's bloom together.
Come join month end to the first week in July. On roads lead to Scott's Head for the grind. Cool Reunion Festival, beginning Friday, June 27th with sounds of praise to the Most High. Lively cultural performances, followed by Soir l'Histoire, a night of powerful, topical, juicy history with Dr. Leonard Honeychurch, followed by the Super Block of finale. Saturday 20th, Sakis Abukaput in spectacular carnival style, followed by Dr. Mika Lavadi and Dropping. Sunday 30th, church service, then village festival with the Unstoppable Person Serenade. Tuesday, July 1st, trip to Kalinago territory. Wednesday, July 2nd, the Domino and Big Money Bingo. Tuesday, July 3rd, beach party and talent night with special guest Franklin Moses. Friday, July 4th, grand dinner and dance. Saturday, 5th, the highly anticipated return of Conde Conla with Midnight Movement. Sunday, July 6th, Super Blacko. Extra cold coupon is only $3 for $10. Raffle to include a large screen, smart television, and multiple smart phone devices. Don't miss the Scott's Head Cash a Cool Reunion. Good month into the first week of July. Sponsored by Belfast Estate, Couplet Bear, DNO, Q95, and Crayon Heartbeats. Look at people. Fresh Market Pharmacy has expanded to customers with its new additional location at Best Price. 2 convenient locations on the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard and at Best Price Riverbank. Fresh Market Pharmacy provides over-the-counter medication, health and personal care, prescription drugs, and natural supplements. Our experienced pharmacists and technicians provide the best quality services. Call 225-6883, 255-6875. WhatsApp 316-0310. Your prescription bill just got lowered.
When you want the best, you do shop at SCA. Better than the rest, go shop at SCA. And they often when I say shop at SCA. You get more for what they say, shop at SCA. Shop at SCA, yeah, shop at SCA. Shop at SCA, what they say, shop at SCA. SCA's family, customer friendly, with 3 locations, it's so convenient, and our price is that's where you belong. Oh, tell your mama, tell your papa, shop at SCA. Tell your son and your daughter, shop at SCA. Auntie, nan, and cousin, friend, open power, all of them. Grandma, grandpa, couple, neighbor, girlfriend, boyfriend, side, what? Shop at SCA. Shop at SCA. Shop at SCA. Shop at SCA. Check us out at Portersville, High Street, and downtown Rose.
This hurricane tip is brought to you by ESA Trading Limited. When a storm is coming, don't guess. Prep like a pro. Know your exits, know your shelter, know where your people and your pets are going.
Cause I'm on my way. KFC delivery is here. Just place your order at www.kfcdominica.com, Facebook or WhatsApp at 614-2633 and your order will be delivered to you. KFC, it's good. Cause I'm on my way.
Dominica Q95 Radio is opened for your business in collaboration with the National Development Foundation of Dominica. Get ready to join Q95 Radio and NDFD for Nature Island Small Business Buzz, a live radio program bringing in empowerment to small business ideas and entrepreneurs across Dominica every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m., offering a unique national platform for small, medium, and growing business enterprises in Dominica. Together, we'll aspire to connect, advertise, learn, collaborate, and witness small business entrepreneurs thrive and succeed in the fertile broadcasting soil of Q95 along with the NDFD. Join us on our journey every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. One unbroken, exciting hour of free Q95 radio small business promotion as together we explore all the challenges, the setbacks, the setups, the comebacks, stories, the history, the startups, the breakthroughs, the financing, the sweat, the toil, the sleepless nights, the heartbreaks, the triumphs, the business plan, the overall success in pursuing your small business dream come true in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Join veteran broadcaster Franklin Peter Moses and Mr. Donald Bocasio, highly skilled, qualified, sought-after business and entrepreneurial manager, small business development expert, and strategic business coach. Together, we're taking you and your small business to the pinnacle of success in the Dominican economic landscape. So don't miss Nature Island Small Business Buzz every Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on Q95 Radio, the big station.
Mouvement Créole à Soukir. Tout le monde créole pour attention. Comité pour études créole Dominique. Et puis Radio QFM qui a présenté Mouvement Créole. Tous les mardis soirs entre 6 et après-midi. Information, blague, interview, histoire, problème, discussion, reportage, apprendre à parler et puis écrit créole. Lien avec ton peuple créole. Bon musique créole. Mouvement Créole. À nous faire un rendez-vous, messieurs, mesdames, tous les mardis soirs. QFM qui est frappé avec bon power créole. Sans ça participer, qui est nous rapidement Timamaina. Mouvement créole à seconde station QFM. Voici avec nous tous les mardis soirs 6h pour Mouvement créole. Matchez ça. Exciting news from AutoTrade. Incredible savings are here. Take advantage of AutoTrade's Thrifty Thursday promotion. Mark your calendars. On the last Thursday of each month, AutoTrade is offering up to 20% off items throughout the store. Yes, 20% off. But wait, here's more. Keep your eyes peeled for our exclusive Deal of the Day offer, bringing you even bigger discounts on select items. Whether you're looking for car accessories, maintenance essentials, or just browsing for a great deal, we've got you covered. So be sure to swing by AutoTrade every last Thursday. At AutoTrade, it's more than a vehicle, it's a relationship. Terms and conditions apply.
And we moved up to the 3 o'clock hour. That's all the time we have this afternoon for this edition of Talk on the Block. Back tomorrow. Richie will be in the house. Thank you, Dominica. God bless you. Love you all the time.
Happy my soul. I don't really wanna know where you're going. Maybe you once or twice. Time after time I try to hold on to what we got. Now you're going. I don't mind about the things you're gonna say, love. Looking for my money and my time. I know it's a shame, but I'm giving it back your head. I'll be on my way. I won't be back today. If you move along, I'm looking for a good time. Sit on down the line. Funny how time can go. Don't say they told me so. It doesn't matter. It was plain to see. A small town boy like me wasn't a cup of tea. Wish you thinking. I gave you my heart and I tried to make you happy. But you gave me nothing in return. I know it ain't so hard to say. Won't you please just go away? Don't wait, please. I'm tired of being you. I want everyone to know I'm looking for a good time. So good. Say so good. To me. Yeah. Time for reflection, a time for redemption. Someone's knocking at our door. Ask Granny, listen to this station, her room recollection, sitting right there on her throne. Granny said it wasn't like this before. Papa God, Radiola, Funny Bon, Nouvelle Pop. Knew some young men losing their lives, running tears from her eyes, while searching for a solution to save our paradise. Granny has the perfect advice. When it seems like the signs of the end of time, foolish and it won't just seem so hard to find. Foolish one day there'll be no more, no wars and crime. Foolish we'll be singing one sweet song of love and pride. Foolish
Mama say one prayer a day can keep the evil away. Just say one our Father and 10 Hail Marys and pray for my country. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. Oh, boy, boy, boy. Decade for our children and our young men, for they need it the most. Because you expect to protect them, will disrespect them. Sometimes rights at their homes. Granny say it wasn't like this before. Papa God, your son can't handle a boat well no more. So to prove they is man, they must raise their hand. Don't want to know how it feels to bury your mother after she was killed by your father. When this seems like the signs of the end of time, Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary, and they both just seem so hard to find. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary, one day there'll be no more. No wars and crimes. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. We'll be singing one sweet song of love and pride. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. Mama say one prayer a day can keep the evil away. Just say one our Father and 10 Hail Marys and pray for my country. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. Boy, boy, boy. The economic state of our nation, global inflation, poverty's knocking at our door. Granny used to survive on her pension with no frustration. Now we can't do that no more. Granny say it wasn't like this before. Papa God, a pound of sugar not all no more. Her children sending barrels from England, but the customs breaking her hand. Don't want to know how it feels to be a single mother with a lazy, unemployed child father. Well, this seems like the signs of the end of time. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary, and the hope just seems so hard to find. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. One day there'll be no more wrong, no wars and crime. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. We'll be singing one sweet song of love and pride. Ole Chapelet, roll your rosary. Mama say one prayer a day can keep the evil